is a petition for a non-immigrant worker, which employers that want to hire a foreign national must complete. It is a relatively frequent sort of work visa, and it may also be able to modify the status of someone who is currently in the U.S. but is not allowed to work. How to fill out an I-129 form. The form I-129 is 6 pages long, with an additional page carrying the explanations. The form needs you to fill out information about the employer as well as the role that the foreign national holds. To make things easier, here are the phases you'll need to go through. Part 1. Information about the petitioner. The first section of the form, as its name implies, requests that you supply details about yourself as the petitioner. You must keep in mind that the employer is the one that completes the petition in this instance. As a result, the foreign national who is set to start working becomes a beneficiary who must be included to the form. Part 2 provides details about the petition. This step is customary and will help the agents arrange themselves. You must provide the details regarding the sought non-immigrant status as well as the steps that you, the employer, wish the USCIS to take in the second section of the I-129 petition. The employer must include the desired visa category and determine if the employee meets the requirements. Those who are new to the company will be included under new employment. This will also be true if you are asking for a present employee to be placed in a different classification. However, if the intention is to keep the employee in the same position with no modifications, the application must be submitted under continuation of previously approved employment without change with the same employer. Other categories include change in previously approved employment, in the case that the job, title or responsibilities have changed, or amended petition, in the event that the position has undergone a significant change. Part 3. Information for beneficiaries. After filling out the information on the desired status, you must go on to the beneficiary's information, also known as the employee's information. Most of the time, the required information is simple. The A-number portion is generally where misunderstanding arises. This is due to the fact that many individuals are unaware of what this number means. Few chosen foreign nationals are often given this 9-digit alien registration number. An employee who hasn't yet filed for permanent residency won't often even get an A number. You may omit this section of the petition if that is the case. Part 4. Information processing. In order to process the form I-129, a series of questions will be included in the fourth section. If the employee is outside of the United States, inquiries may be asked about an inspection of the facility where they may submit a visa application or the location of a U.S. consulate. Regardless of whether the petition is for in-country employment, this component must be filled out using data from the employer's home country. Whether or not the petition has previously been granted, an in-country request still stands a chance of being turned down. If so, the USCIS will need to know where to mail the form I-129. An employee may sometimes ask for processing in a third nation, such as Canada or Mexico, but this is something that should be avoided. The employee runs the risk of having to remain in that nation for a longer amount of time if there are any procedural delays. Only if specific circumstances exist that preclude the petition from being handled in the home country should this method of processing be taken into consideration. Part 5. Employer and employment information. This portion is likewise not very complicated. In this case, detailed questions about the employer and the potential job will be presented to the petitioner. This part should include the same information if an LCA, labor condition application, is also necessary. In the event that you have an LCA case number, you must also supply it. You should include any pay that the company will provide the employee in this area as well. If your employee gets any perks, for instance, you should list them all here. Part 6. Certification for export control. If a federal license is required for the foreign worker to have access to technical data or technology, the employer must communicate that fact. A designated authority will be asked to make this decision if the employer's firm uses technology that could need this license. If there isn't a designated official for the organization, the employer will need to consult with legal counsel on how to fill this part out. Approving I-129. The seventh section of the form should be signed by an authorized representative of the employer. They should sign this section if they worked with a lawyer to prepare the petition. Every signature should ideally be written in blue ink. Addendums to Form I-129. A supplement should be sent with this form to complete the request for the visa classification. The Form I-129 package should include the list of supplements. Any additional pages that are not necessary for the visa classification, such as bank loan approvals or other supporting papers, are not required to be filled out by the employer. Where to submit Form I-129? Typically, the training facility and service center are where the Form I-129 is submitted. There will be a few filing exemptions, however, for NAFTA nations like Canada and Mexico. Depending on whether you wish to modify, extend, or restore the I-129 status, you should choose the appropriate form. Form I-129 filing charge. The Form I-129 has a $460 filing cost. You acknowledge that you will pay for government services by submitting this form. The filing costs are final and non-refundable, so even if you withdraw your application, you will not be eligible to get a return of your money. Why your I-129 processing might take longer. Most often, delays happen because the petitioner has not paid the proper fee or has given insufficient information. As a result, it could be necessary to start the procedure from scratch. The USCIS may begin a request for evidence if they have grounds to suspect the information provided on the application. The procedure can be delayed once again since the employer will need to respond and provide proof. The processing could take a little longer for a foreign national who resides outside of the U.S. It usually relies on the neighborhood consulate. Additional documents may be required for certain visa categories, which might lead to further delays. Not to mention, if your LCA was not previously granted because of mistakes or insufficient information, the petition may need to be resubmitted, which can cause delays. You may be able to prevent any possible rejections, delays, or audits if you engage with an experienced immigration lawyer. They take a lot of time, and they're sometimes quite costly. Who may be sponsored through an I-129 petition? The I-129 visa is open to a variety of applicants who meet the requirements for various statuses. The following employment-based non-immigrant visa categories are eligible for filing this. Employees on a temporary basis who are eligible for H-1C, H-1B, H-2A, or H-3 status. Athletes, entertainers, artists, or performers who are entitled to P2, P1, or P3 status. They should also be eligible for P2S, P1S, or P3S classification for their critical workers. Aliens who meet the requirements for O1 status and have outstanding ability. This also holds true for their helpers who meet the requirements for O2.